Hi, everybody. I want to let everybody know about the new microphones and the way the new system works. I just thought I'd just let you guys know before we begin. All of the new microphones have a mute button on them. When you press the mute button, the microphone unmutes. You go ahead and speak, and when you're finished, just hit the mute button again to mute it. Some of the users have the original microphones that we used in the past. I have them strategically placed because in some cases, especially during the audience comments portion, when I switch the systems, the new mics go offline. So I have to have the older microphones in front of, for example, for you, Patty, it needs to be that type of microphone. So for the older microphones, you press the on button, you speak. When you're finished talking, you press the same button again, and that turns off the microphone. Okay, we'll be monitoring on the side if there's any problems at all. If the volume gets unusual, if you have to make any adjustments, we'll adjust it on the fly. Okay? Yes, you will notice on the newer microphones, because of the way they're configured, this is sort of an emergency workaround to get the system working for us. You're going to notice a minor delay in your voice. So the closer you are to the microphone, the less that's going to affect you, okay? The older microphones, you won't see it as much. But yeah, if you notice a little bit of a delay, speak a little bit closer to the microphone, and I think you'll be able to understand better, okay?
I take it the
Yes.
red light
If you see the red light, your microphone is live.
is live.
So you press mute one more time, and it's muted, okay? All right. That's hot.
Now it's live. Now the mic is live.
I apologize for being a few minutes late. It was Grandparents' Day, and that trumps everything, so sorry. I call to order the special board meeting for November 7th, 2025, of the Board of Education, Pomona Unified School District. Roll call, please, Ms. Rojas.
Mrs. Tai,
Present.
Dr. Nashua, Dr. Perlman, Mr. Jimenez,
Present.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you.
We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance now led by Mr. Ronnie Lawrence Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? Before we get started, so I was down at my kids' grandkids' school today, and I'm walking around the building, and I'm like, this doesn't look like a normal building. This looks like it could be a timber quest. You guys have my mind has been so focused on facilities. I don't think so, but I'm not quite sure. So anyways, let me read this statement. 1.03, Superintendent's comments, corrections, and additions, Mr. Knowles.
No comments and no corrections or additions to the agenda, Madam President.
I'd like to read the following statement. I'd like to share the following statement as we, the PUSD Board of Trustees, PUSD staff, and the public are gathered here for this business meeting. We are mindful of our values as a compassionate community whose work in education and well-being of our children and youth in support of their homes, families, neighbors, and our city. As we make our public comments, we agree to be respectful and courteous to all. We agree that personal attacks, profanity, booing, distracting signs, or props are inappropriate, remembering that there are often children present, and our words and actions serve as an example of respectful and effective communication. We understand that each public speaker is limited to 3 minutes to ensure that all have an equal opportunity to speak. We thank you for honoring these cherished civic values as we proceed with this meeting together. Moving on to 1.04, I am not seeing anybody from the Associated Pomona Teachers. Moving on to 1.05. Again, I'm not seeing anybody from California School Employees. No? Okay. Moving on to 1.06, Pomona Administrators and Confidential Classified Management Employees. I'm not seeing anybody. So I will move on to 1.07, audience comments. Mr. Moore, any yellow slips?
We have one slip for a speaker who intends to speak on agenda item 2.02.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 2.01, Superintendent's oral communication on agenda items. Where am I?
Audience comments.
I thought I was waiting to 2.02. Sorry, I'm sorry. Miss Claudia Cano?
Good afternoon, Board of Education members, Superintendent Darren Knowles, Cabinet members, Council, Mr. Moore, and audience. My name is Claudia Cano, a concerned former parent speaking on behalf of the affected and the voiceless. Thank you for the 3 minutes of your time. We are concerned about the mismanagement and incompetence of Capital Facilities Maintenance and Operations Department. Due to the lack of transparency and lack of organization, we feel the urgency to ask for assistance from the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office and the Crisis Management Assistance Team to examine the district's fiscal practices. As a reminder, the potential consequences for a school district that misuse bond money are that can face legal action, potentially lose access to future funding, and must repay the money with penalties. Misuse can also damage the district's credit rating, making it more expensive to borrow money in the future, and could lead to the state-level consequences such as increased state oversight and loss of matching funds. The fact that PUSD doesn't have a proper school consolidation plan can lead to negative consequences like community disconnect, student displacement, reduction of local control, reduced teachers' morale, and potential long-term financial costs, including loss of funding, higher transportation expenses, and unforeseen administrative costs. Ultimately, this has led to an inability to provide necessary support services to students with disabilities and has failed to meet the legal requirements and the laws like Individual Disabilities Education Act. This failure can also stem from poor infrastructure, insufficient teacher training, and lack of communication between families and school. Consequences have included lawsuits. I strongly suggest for all of you to stop rushing to sell surplus properties and to stop wasting funds that can be perceived as misappropriation of funds. If your approval do not align with the key functions of the PUSD Facilities Master Plan, School Consolidation Plan, and SELPA. As per public records from 2022 to 2024, you awarded a contract to Southland Industries for a total of $67 million. Since the completion of the project, have you taken the time to visit the facilities and to inspect them? The contract mentioned new HVAC and control for 19 sites, facilities, which are not publicly disclosed. It also mentioned new lights for 15 schools. They mentioned the creation of an energy master plan. Why is not incorporated into the facilities master plan? As per public records, LCC3 construction services continue to receive millions of dollars in contracts without clear definition. Can you elaborate on it? I challenge all of you to a full independent forensic audit across the district due to lack of transparency. Thank you.
Moving on to Section 2. Oh, just no. No, not you're later. Section 2, 2.01, superintendent's oral communication on agenda items.
Nothing at this time, Madam President.
2.02, facilities priorities list, study session. Mr. Knowles.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you guys for joining us this evening. I just want to start with a few quick introductions, and to let you know that in August, the board gave the team the direction on prioritized goals for the Measure UU program and asked the team to return with a set of projects that would fit both the prioritized goals and also the available funding for the first issuance and possibly the second issuance for Measure UU. So the team has given much thought and conceptual testing to narrow the highest facility needs to the list of projects. And again, I want to start with some quick introductions. We have Ed Cunningham from LCC3, and I'm going to have Ed introduce his team real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure. I have Brenda Garcia with LCC3. I have Sarah Garrett with the Garrett Group. We have our partner on the end there, Mr. Keto, Alex Keto with SafeWorks CM. And these are the people that help us put this together. So.
Okay. We also have Sarah Garrett that has joined us, and she's working not with the district, but working specifically with the construction management team. And Sarah has been very instrumental in helping us put together this project list and also fine-tuning, some of the details as we move towards the implementation of Measure UU. She has extensive bond experience in multiple districts. She had worked directly with Portland Public Schools. They have 86 schools, and I think they had the biggest bond in state history that she was managing. Over 50,000 kids pre-K-12, and then also in, I hope I get this district correctly, it's Tamalpais Union High School District, and that's in Marin County, and that's a high school district. So she also managed the facilities from a district perspective now as well, and she is also, consulting. And so she's been very instrumental in helping us look at this implementation of Measure UU. So the list presented tonight, the team is going to ask the Board of Education for direction to develop this list of conceptual projects into planned projects. Once planned, the projects will be brought back for presentation and approval to begin work. So I want to say that again because I think it's really important. So tonight we're going to present the list of proposed projects. And then again, as we develop the scope, the project schedule, and the budget, those items will come back before the board for an approval. So, in keeping with the principles and direction of the governing board provided, again, we'll be proposing this list of highest priorities. The board's goals of health and safety and security were taken into account. Infrastructure improvements, programmatic support, campus functionality improvements. And again, we'll ask for your approval of these projects list tonight so we can begin developing this specific scope, sequence, and budget. This will be the basis for a mandatory 5-year plan, which will be brought at a subsequent board meeting for your approval. And we're going to be targeting to bring that Prop 2 plan back to the board on the December 10th board meeting. This is just an overview of the prioritized areas that the board had identified for staff at the August 15th board meeting. So this was health, safety, and the security upgrades, infrastructure improvements, programmatic support, campus functionality improvements, and when you look at, I'm going to go to this slide real quick. When you look at the conceptual planning framework for this group of projects, you can see that a majority of them are going to be in the health and safety and security area. You can see the sliver where it says campus functionality improvements, infrastructure, and programmatic support. So in line with what the students, the staff, the community, and our parents had asked for was for us to consider the health and safety. And so as you look at these tonight, now some of them do cross multiple areas, so you have to consider that as well. But overwhelming majority of these projects on this list tonight do fit in the health, safety, and security area. The preliminary list of projects and sequenced presented tonight, again, were developed with the constraints of the Pomona Unified School District program revenue and bond issuance. Work so far has used industry standard conceptual budgeting techniques. These are based on the type of space and square footage such as standard high school science labs and I'm sorry, let me start over. I want to give you an example because there's 3 areas that we're going to be bringing back to the board as a result of the team's work. So if the board approves or gives us direction to move forward on this project list, we will start developing the scope, we'll be developing the project schedule and that budget, and those fine details will come back as a recommendation to the board then to move forward. And so, you know, when you look at examples, I want to provide an example of scope. An example would be, you know, a phase of project development includes site-specific conditions, square footage, local labor and material costs, educational program features, site access, and other factors. For example, scope, and a good example would be just a high school science lab in Pomona. Typically, they're about 1,400 square feet. If we decided to use all of the casework that's currently in the classroom, that would be part of the scope. Is it going to require new water or gas lines? Is there plumbing required? Does it require new HVAC or ventilation? You know, or is there a difficult site access there? So all these things are going to come into the whole concept of what scope is. So we want to make sure that as we bring these to you, all of that has been defined up front. So there is no, you know, we want to make sure that we manage expectations because it's kind of like going and buying a new car. I think when you go test drive a car, you want the car that's fully loaded. But your budget may not be able to pay for what a fully loaded car costs, so you have to manage your own expectations. And so as the team develops these, those things are going to come into factor. The environmental concerns on the site, the regulatory concerns. So all of that is going to be baked into the scope. And then, of course, we're going to develop the project schedule. The project schedules alone also depend on what's happening operationally at school sites. So, for example, as we've been doing the gyms at Pomona and Ganesha High School, we have to factor in the usage of those gyms. We have to factor in the athletic programs, and all those things have to go into that. So, again, that's all a part of the project schedule. In addition to later in the presentation, I'll talk about all of the particular steps that are associated with bringing these projects from a conceptual idea all the way to closure. And then, of course, the budget. I think, you know, the budget is going to be a big part of this. We have received our first issuance for Measure UU. And so, you know, it's not an infinite amount of money, but at the same time as we're considering the budget for Measure UU, we also want to start planning for the second, third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth issuance of the bond. So that's going to take some advanced planning that you also have to factor in and budget for in the first issuance. So now I'm going to start with the actual recommendations, and this is where I really want the board to get involved, ask your questions, give us direction. The first area that we're going to be phasing in, and again, when I say phase in, these are the schools that we're recommending in the first phase. All of our schools in the district do need this work, and so, but this will be the recommendation for the first phase. The conceptual estimate for this is about $15 million. That number will change based on when you start looking at the realities and the cost escalation and other things as you plan these projects out. There may be some unforeseen things that come up. So all of that, you know, where we can project or predict the actual cost of something that will go into the budget. But these are for the outdated fire alarm systems. We want to make sure we're fully compliant. We've been doing some work around the district, and the way that these schools were selected is some of our work that we've been doing in child development. There are very strict standards for child development classrooms, And so some of these sites are needed for the certifications for our child development program, and that's why we picked them in the first phase. So you have Alcott, Allison, Barfield, Lexington, Lincoln, Madison, San Jose, Washington, and Westmont. The remaining schools that are on the list were also based off of the facilities master plan, the number of work orders that we've received, and also just the site history for those. So you can see the list that is listed here. We've also broken them down into clusters because we're trying to phase these in and consider that as well. But, you know, as this is just the first phase, we will have to do additional schools. And I'm going to stop right there and see if the board has any questions or any input as to this particular recommendation.
Darren, I just want to be clear, when we say clusters and phase, those are two different things. So are clusters 1 through 4 all part of phase 1, or are they separate phases?
They are all part of phase 1. Yeah. The clusters, just for the audience purpose and the public, our clusters, our schools are set up into clusters, into feeder patterns, basically. And so that's what typically identifies those clusters. So you can see that Allison, Barfield, they typically they feed into Emerson. They also feed into Pomona High School. So, so that's how that's set up. But all of these are for phase 1. That's a great question.
Darren, I'm looking at the clusters and I'm wondering if you've cross-referenced them with anticipated school closures. I want to make sure that we are checking those off the list and not including them accidentally in approving them when I think you might have some on here.
That is a great question, and the team had that conversation. We have considered that. Cabinet just met this past week, and we've been having conversations about our projections for the next 3 years. We've also identified some schools that we would be recommending to the board in the future that would be part of the school consolidation planning. That doesn't mean that, we would be, doesn't mean we're closing a school at this second, but we did factor that in. The schools that are on here, and I know which 2 schools you're looking at right now, but right now, those schools would not be recommendations for consolidations at this time.
Do you have a timeline for the recommendations? I think it's really important to look at
Yeah.
how. I don't want to have a school invest money into it and in a year it's presented on a list.
No, absolutely. It's a great question. So the school consolidation plan, the recommendation will be coming before the board in January or February. So that's our anticipated timeline. The recommendation for this year will likely be 1 school. And then after that, we really are at a point in terms of school consolidations that before we can move kids from another campus or consolidate them, we're really at a point where we have to take some steps to make sure that we can house the kids properly. And so there will need to be some facility considerations in the future recommendations for consolidations. So for example, in the past where we consolidated schools, there was an easy pathway and there was capacity at the school that was receiving these students. That is not always the case when we look at all the consolidations. Now, one of the schools that we are recommending, there is capacity there. But we also look at the state of the facilities. And so in many of these cases, some of that capacity is existing in portables. And if you look at the facilities master plan, and I've even tabbed a couple pages, the facilities master plan does address the need for some of these portables to be removed completely and replaced with, you could replace it either with a new portable or a new build or something that is going to be equivalent. So we are going to consider that as part of our recommendation. It's a great question.
Just a quick reminder, you'll want to speak closer to the tip of the microphone, and you'll be able to hear people a lot. So
any more questions on this particular slide? Okay. Okay, and I'll be glad to come back. If you have any additional input or directives, I can come back to it.
Mr. Knowles? So do we do anything with, how do we tell you?
I think to make it easier, if we could just do these per slide, it would help us move along so that we don't have to come back. So if I can get direction from the board for this particular slide, that will help us move on as we go.
Go ahead.
Mr. Nels, then I would suggest that then you query the boards to find out if we finish with the slide, then we're done with that slide and we move forward. And
That's a way to do it.
So,
how about if we have like a question later about that? Is that something that we can do or can't do?
So if I can add here for a moment, this being a study session, the board has the right to ask Mr. Knowles to come back with specific information, and the way to do that would be to take a consensus. There isn't an action item on this evening's agenda, so the directive to Mr. Knowles would be, for instance, in the context of this particular ask on this slide, would be for Mr. Knowles to take the recommendations here and develop scope, scheduling, budget, and move this particular list of projects further down the road so that the action item can be brought back to the board to actually vote on it. And that vote would include, if there's a contractor, and if there is work that has a price tag attached, that would be the nature of the action item. At this stage, it would be the gaining of a consensus to send Mr. Knowles back to work and bring that action item back based on the items on this slide. Does that make sense? So we can take a consensus. I think the easiest way to do it maybe would be to have Ms. Rojas.
can I just ask if there's a consensus with the board to move
Certainly.
forward with this item?
You can do that
would
as
that be
well, to
okay?
send, absolutely, to send Mr. Knowles back to work on this list as it's presented.
I think there's two questions here, Mr. Moore. The first question is Madam President is asking, I think the same question was asked, do we have a consensus on stopping at each slide and giving direction on each slide or waiting till the very end? Is that correct, Mr. Jimenez?
Oh, that's what I was thinking
Okay.
with this page and this page only, until we move on to the next page.
If I may, what I was suggesting was that we take one item at a time, so we do not get overly.
That's what I'm saying. Do we have a consensus?
No, but so what I'm saying is not for just this, but let's do one at a time for the whole thing as we move forward. So we're gonna do this one, and then now that we have a consensus that we're gonna take one at a time, now we could say if we wanna do, we're gonna do the one we're looking at right now.
Yeah,
I think we're both saying the same thing.
one is process and one is actually on the slide itself. So he's asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Jimenez, he's asking, can we get consensus on the process, and then you're going to get consensus on this particular item?
Yes.
So do we have consensus on the process?
Angie?
Yes, as long as we still have the opportunity to ask a question later, because I think
no.
that with things overlapping, we're going to have an issue.
Right.
Mrs. Ty?
Who said that?
Me.
It's like, oh my God, my mother's here. Yes, Ms. Rojas?
Dr. Nashua?
You scared her to death.
I know.
I didn't know that,
Hi, God, it's me, Margaret.
Dr. Perlman? Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes, and I don't think Dr. Oshwa has voted.
Yes. Dr. Nashua? Thank you.
Mr. Moore, could you clarify what the vote was for?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah,
It was-
what the consensus was for?
As a clarification, the approach that was agreed to is that each slide which proposes a series of projects will be taken one by one, will be discussed, and Mr. Knowles will seek direction to bring back an action item including scope and budget and scheduling on that list. So the first vote that was just taken, the direction, the consensus, was to take that approach with each of the slides. The next thing to do is for Mr. Knowles to seek a consensus regarding the health, safety, and security on fire alarms. If the board is directing now Mr. Knowles to bring those back as an action item, developing scope and budget and scheduling on this list as it's constituted. So we would need one more consensus. So each time we come to a proposed list, we need one consensus on how to move forward.
Mrs. Tai?
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even see it.
You did earlier, then we had all this hoopla. In relation to this slide and the topic at hand, I'd like to see a chart, as I discussed with you, I don't know if it was last week, where I want to make sure that all of these schools that you're listed in your cluster that you're estimating the cost weren't in the last cycle of fire alarms. Because I know that we had spent money in our previous bond measure on fire alarm upgrades. Which schools those are, I don't know. So I'd like to see it cross-reference. I look at the chart that we had in the facilities master plan for the evaluation, and there were greens. Do I know which greens there were? Not really. It's easier for me to see in a chart which schools you're recommending this cycle, where they are on that chart, and to make sure I don't want to see any greens overlap. I don't want to see any money that was already spent in one of our 3 previous bonds on the same project, because that lifetime is way too short.
Mr. Knowles, while those are being passed out, can you explain why there would be some overlap in the last, whatever you called it,
So I'm,
bond issuance?
yes, I did. So what I'm passing out now that will come to you is a spreadsheet that lists every single project. Then the project also has the school sites, and Dr. Nash was asking a very good question. So if you, once this comes to you, let me make sure this gets to you guys. Any more there?
While it's getting to people, Mike, are you done with your question?
Honestly, I don't know yet because there's not enough time to actually look at this.
Okay, but let me walk you through it real quick. So if you look at page 1 of this Excel sheet, you're gonna see on the top or the left-hand side, you'll see where it says health, security, and safety upgrades. And you're gonna see a school site, it says Allison. The project description, it'll give the cluster, the project description is fire alarm upgrades. Now, if you scan all the way to the right side, it'll give you the year that the last time the fire alarm was addressed. Now, one of the things is, as you look at all of the schools, if you look down at the very bottom and you look at Fremont, and you look at, that one was addressed in 2017, or 2017. One of the questions I had for the team is how often or how long do our fire alarms honestly last? And so, Ed, you want to help us with kind of a description on kind of what truly is the lifespan of a fire system?
Yeah, sure. Typically, with a fire alarm system, we try to upgrade them or replace them every 5 to 6 years. That's kind of the shelf life. And a lot of that is created by technology changes. Code changes every year. And so everything we do has to actually fit to Title 24. So 5 or 6 years is about the max we could get out of a system before we actually have to take some kind of action with it.
I'd really like a secondary opinion on that. I think that the person that's addressing us right now has been here for so long that I'd like to know from an external service that that is the average.
So,
Let me ask.
from SafeWorks, can you weigh in on this?
On that particular moment, I would not actually like to confirm or deny the service hours of that particular time and recommend a professional external service on the life system and get that recommendation.
Can you speak closer to the?
So, I would more lean towards doing an external professional fire alarm service or third party on that regard. On my experience on that, I would not like to provide a comment on that timeline.
Now,
So-
the other challenge is
I
that,
know, I can't understand him.
well, he's recommending an external entity because the other challenge that we have here at PUSD is that one firm has been intimately involved with all the work. The new firm has only been assigned to specific tasks that may not even be related to this project, which is why it behooves us to look at a third party, not recommended by already engaged individuals.
I don't want to belabor the point, but we do have a facilities plan that was put together by Perkins. Can we, now, and I know that, yeah, so, because I don't want to wait by the time, because this is going to turn into, we need to do this meeting because we have so much happening, but I don't want to, this is beginning to look like it's going to take a long, long, long time, more than this meeting, maybe even longer. So can we address it through the facilities master plan? Is that something that we do have?
We can, but I also think that we can bring somebody in to look at what is the actual life of a fire system. There's a lot of components to fire alarm systems. I think, we can talk to our local fire chief that would be a good consultant on this piece. But we also have companies out there that we've worked with that can easily give us some information. And I think that would, Dr. Nashua, that would satisfy your inquiry.
Dr. Nashua, just out of curiosity, are we going to have more questions like that of other items? Like in the similar?
Probably because Darren and I met to go over this about a week ago, and I have a lot of things that I wanted to still see, but I don't think there was enough time to implement them.
Okay.
But I think what I'm asking right now is, or I'm asking of you right now, if we have a consensus to move this forward, and in that process, before the final, I don't want to use the wrong terminology. This is just to start moving it forward, and they would bring back the information you're looking for. Would that be all right with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So could you'll move it?
I feel better now about moving forward.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I have to wait for my mother to call down again and.
Yes.
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 But she'll get her questions answered.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll provide that information to all the board members. Yeah,
Thank
it's a
you.
good question. Okay, I'm going to move now to the playground renovations. So this has also been from all the stakeholders. You can see we have some pictures up there that show some of our playground renovations. So these would be the recommended school sites to upgrade the playground infrastructure by replacing equipment, the surfaces. This also would have to go to ADA, and if there's a path of travel, that has to be considered for ADA compliance. So that includes restrooms and drinking fountains. Now, I will say that in advance, because I've heard this question, and we've actually had this challenge in the district, and it's come mainly from parents and our principals. Sometimes on this equipment, when they've sold the equipment in the past, if one portion of it breaks down, you got to replace the whole thing. There was no replacement equipment. So one of the things that I've even asked for is if the board asks us or gives us the consensus to move forward on this particular item, is that we come up with or make as part of the criteria a company that would be using that you should be able to replace the equipment. You shouldn't have to replace the whole thing because primarily the biggest thing that we've had problems with are the slides. And so, what's happened is that staff had to have removed slides, and then you don't have a slide for the kids, and then they put a piece of plywood up. It's not appropriate. And so when in fact, it looks like you can mold the slide and put a slide back on there and make sure it was safe and appropriate for kids. And so we're gonna be looking at companies that actually do that. That'll be part of the scope as we move forward. So these are the schools per cluster, and these are schools, they are in really bad shape. And again, this is only the first phase. Now, some of these schools, if you look at them, if you look at, for example, Arroyo, I think Decker, even Golden Springs and Ranch Hills, their kinder, you may go to the school and you walk past the kinder playground equipment and like, why did they recommend this site? That playground equipment is brand new. You would be right, but there's also playground equipment on the backside that the older kids are using, and that playground equipment is some of the pictures that you're seeing here. So this would be the recommendation for our playgrounds, and again, this would be phase one.
Darren, I know I said it in a joking manner, but I really do think that your slides can be printed on a 3D printer, and it could actually be part of our curriculum for our machining course. And so I really think that this is a huge opportunity to do something that's going to be creative and different and not always have to be outsourcing. Because we have some printers, we have the CNC machines, they're all small, but we have students learning this craft. And so we could be self-sustaining, and we could be sure to regularly replace it on a schedule with every new incoming semester class.
We'll definitely look into that. It's very creative. We can look into that for sure.
Thank you. I had first of all, thank you for mentioning the replacement pieces, because that has been a huge problem. Not being able to get a slide that fits into the rest of the equipment. So I appreciate that. And also I appreciate that Ranch Hills was included in the list, because I know it was omitted to begin with, and they're in dire need of new equipment. Thank you.
Okay, Madam President, if there's no more questions on this one, we're ready for consensus or additional questions.
I was going to make a comment, and then, go ahead, and then I'll make my comment.
I just had a quick question. Was any thought given for playground equipment covers? Because as we move forward.
So absolutely. When we did the survey, shade structures were a big, important piece for our parents. When we developed the scope and the sequence and the budget for these projects, we are considering recommendations for shade structures. That's going to accomplish two things. It's going to help keep our kids cooler and keep them safe, keep them hydrated, all that good stuff. But the reality is that it's also going to help protect the playground equipment over time. And so that's Mr. Jimenez, thank you for bringing that up.
My question would be is when we get this new equipment, I know sun is a factor on slides and stuff like that, but in looking at playground equipment around the district, the cobwebs, where the hornets' nests are forming, where just bird poop and stuff like that, how does that fall, who is responsible for the upkeep of equipment?
I would say the site custodian would be responsible for the cleanliness of the equipment.
And then someday I really would like to see a schedule of maintenance then. So we're good on the playground equipment. We're moving on to the next slide.
I think we're ready for consensus at this
I
point.
thought we did that. No? Sorry.
Mrs. Tai,
Yes.
Dr. Nashua,
Yes.
Dr. Perlman, Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up.
Mr. Knowles, I'm sorry, I missed a flag.
I just wanted to support the comment that the president made regarding the M&O planning. It's important that we do hopefully have an M&O plan in place and a breakdown in terms of how we discussed earlier about the cleanliness of it and how we can find actually we can point to it in the plan. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay.
As a quick comment, I just want to make sure that why we're asking for this is to have an understanding, because we need to know too from that team, do they have sufficient coverage? Are they being able to do their job because they have enough people on site or not? Because I think we're going to see a differential from campus to campus.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Dr. Nashua. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Okay, next up, and this is still in the health, safety, and security category. So this is the cafeteria at Lower Beer Middle School. And again, the health department there's requirements that prevent storing food on site, necessitating the daily transportation of meals from Ganesha High School. And so by creating a controlled environment, we would eliminate this process and streamline operational workflows, bring food service facilities into compliance, and significantly enhancing services delivery to better meet student needs. In addition, this building currently does not have any HVAC capacity. In the winter, it is cold, and in the summer, it's hot in there, and there's no fans. And so it was really designed originally as an outdoor cafeteria. Now, what the team has looked at this project, and what we would like to bring back for the board is to do the feasibility study on this and look at the possibility of, in terms of budget and all of the other factors, in terms of what would it look like if we renovated the current structure or if we tore down the structure and put in a brand-new building. So those would be the two options. So when we bring this back to the board, we would be bringing back two options for the board to consider on this particular project.
He's giving me the evil eye. Just put it down for the record.
Really want to know, I was reminiscing because I was looking at the pictures and I was thinking of my children and how I was hugging them in front of that cafeteria.
Aw.
Okay, that's what I was actually doing.
Okay. Can you
I was
please-
remembering all the days my kids said they were freezing to death on that thing.
They had jackets on.
jackets? Just want to make sure this isn't something that's already been done and that we're redoing it. I'm getting the different schools confused. There's so many. Lower Beer, no, we had discussion about the cafeteria and expanding and all of that. And I just want to make sure we don't already have plans drawn up and haven't paid for
So,
something.
so the last
And then are
time,
gonna be redoing the
the last
project.
time this was done is in 1968. So
Okay.
it's
And just
right when it
making
was
sure.
built, so.
Okay.
Thank you. In evaluating whether to renovate or, or build a new structure for the cafeteria and multi-purpose room, is there a way we can get, some kind of 3D rendition of what that would look like, a renovation would look like versus a brand-new building would look like? And so we can evaluate that and in addition, the square footage of one versus another, or maybe expanding that cafeteria into the, into the grass area that's next to it. So, if we were just renovating, I take it there's going to be AC in either structure, whether we renovate it
That's correct.
or we have a brand-new building, because, just throwing in there, Lorbeer really needs a new coat of paint. But anyway, just saying, because the school really needs painting. But anyway, if we could get a 3D rendition, I think it's going to be hard for us to, to evaluate what a renovation would look like versus a brand-new building.
Are there any other questions? Can we ask for consensus? Ms. Rojas?
Mrs. Tai,
Yes.
Dr. Nashua,
Yes.
Dr. Perlman, Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is, this is the, and this is something that our parents really supported. We're currently doing this at Ganesha and Pomona High School. So this is to ask the board to move forward on developing the scope, project sequence and the budget for the gymnasiums at Gary High School and also Diamond Ranch High School. And so this would also include, for Gary, it would include new floors and bleachers and also fire sprinklers and doing the restrooms. And for Diamond Ranch, it would be for putting in the HVAC, redoing the restrooms. Their floor is in really good shape right now. And so this particular item, this was something that our parents have been very vocal about in our listening and learning sessions. And not just for, we started with the high schools, but they've also expressed interest in the future in our middle school gyms as well. So, so at this time, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
In looking at Gary and Diamond Ranch, I know I spent a good number of days in that gym, but I wouldn't want to, if the cost of doing the floor and the bleachers while you do the air conditioning, I mean, I don't know if this is on the, Diamond Ranch is 25 years old, something like that. I wouldn't want to like do all this work and then have to go back in and put in a floor and bleachers. So if you know what I mean. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know how to
about
say it,
25.
but yeah. If it makes more sense to do it,
So just to
do it.
clarify, if we're considering doing the HVAC and the upgrades to the gym, consider the flooring and bleachers at Diamond Ranch also. Is that what I'm hearing?
yes, that sounds perfectly normal to say.
Okay.
Miss, oh, did you have a question? Okay.
These are the last two high schools
So the
gyms.
last two high school gyms.
And then we're done with gyms for a while.
We're done with
For a
high school
while.
gyms.
Okay,
For high school.
okay.
Yeah, we still have Emerson, Lorbeer, Simons, Fremont. There's 4 more, Marshall, so there would be 5 more gyms. And the schools use the gyms a lot because it's they do their rallies in there and all these things, but yeah, but there's,
Oh,
the parents were advocating for all the gyms in the high school to have HVAC, so. Yeah.
Oh,
Are you talking about changing the floor in Diamond Ranch also in the bleachers? Is that what you said?
only if it makes good sense. If it's marginal, if the floor and the bleachers have come to the end of their life term, I wouldn't want to have torn up or closed the gym only in 2 years, close the gym again,
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
okay?
That makes sense.
Because we all know how valuable the gyms are at our schools. I mean, it's the Christmas performance, it's graduation, it's everything. It's PE, it's,
Mhm. So if I could just follow up, at Diamond Ranch, there's a practice of covering the gym for everything in terms of the gym floor. The same practice is not necessarily at all the schools. So I wanted to make sure that as we move forward with the new flooring at Gary, and so on, that we also, that there should be like the means that we also carry, new floors, if there's going to be some kind of an event, or even when we did orchestra, and we had the orchestra at the gym at Diamond Ranch, we covered the floor with a thick, so that we wouldn't damage the floor. So I think that's something we should consider moving forward with as we do more gyms.
Dr. Proman?
Thank you. I just want to make one more quick comment. Until that multipurpose room is completed, et cetera, when we put the air conditioning in the gym, unless we do have a multipurpose room, I'd like to just bring up the point that Lorbeer has no internal space that has air conditioning, unlike the other schools that have it in their cafeterias. We do not have that at Lorbeer. So I just wanted to bring up that point. So as we're going down the list, if we don't have a multi-purpose room yet that has air conditioning, we might prioritize
Yeah.
Lorbeer for that AC in the gym.
And
Oh,
go ahead.
I don't know who had it.
I concur with my colleague, Mr. Jimenez. I think this brings up the topic that we've continued to bring up, which is proper care and maintenance once something is built. And that's providing enough staff, enough timing ahead of time, because I know at our community college, our gym floor, if you want to use it, you have to reserve it. You must cover the floor, same thing, you can't get on it. And they're very particular. And without us taking proper care, then we are putting ourselves in a continuing revolving door of having to replace much sooner. We understand that these are extremely busy spaces, so we need to make sure that when you're building it out, you're providing the right equipment to maintain it and the covering that needs to come out. Have it on a roller, something for the gym. So we need to make sure that's part and parcel, not just build the facility and be done. You need to think about how we're using the space and how do we maximize the time by preserving it with proper maintenance. And I'd like to see that schedule. We should have it, we should provide it and get the feedback from the team. They're the experts. They know how often the floors need to be waxed, polished, everything. And do we have enough people to do this so that we take proper care of our spaces that we're renovating?
I also want to support Dr. Perlman on the issue of Lorbeer. It gets really hot in there and it gets really cold. And the children, that's their place. That's where they watch movies, when they have to watch a movie, or this is where they do their theatrical performances. This is where they gather, so it's imperative that space also receive some attention in terms of HVAC.
Dr. Perlman? Oh. The only other thing I would add on is on these floors, say it like the ceremonies where the orchestra is on, some of the rubber tips on chairs are missing, and those chairs get dragged across. So, yeah. A new gym requires a lot. So, did we do the consensus on the gym? Okay. Ms. Rojas?
M-
I'm not saying one way or the other I'm asking for if it's feasible to do it. I'd like to know before we start air conditioning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we're asking for that to be added in as a budgetary kind of request and a timeline to see if it actually.
Yes.
Mrs. Tai,
Yes.
Dr. Nashua, Dr. Perlman, Mr. Jimenez, Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, and this is a broad area in terms of security enhancements. This includes advanced card access systems. I think, you know, this past summer, we did Harrison. So all of the doors now there have access control. Same thing at San Jose. We didn't do that project this summer, but we did it before. And the staff has access control of the site. So this would be for, you know, continuing to roll that access through the district, and also in enhancing our security at our entry points to protect the students and staff. And then also, you know, our PA systems around the district do need to be improved or replaced. And that's also a big safety and security piece. So the schools that we're recommending in the first phase would be these schools. You can see the pictures here that during the summer we did do Ranch Hills. So you can see that before, and if you've had a child at Ranch Hills and you remember the gates on the top, you know, you could take them and pretty much push them over. They were pretty flexible. But then you can see now that, you know, it's much more protected, and the parents are much happier there for that addition.
Thank you. I have a question about security cameras. I don't see it's included in here, but I believe we are in need of security cameras at, I don't know if all of our campuses, but many of our campuses. Additional security cameras.
This item does include security cameras, you know, in addition to, when it comes to security enhancements, it would be security cameras as well.
Maybe that could be added. I mean, you know, we should spell that out.
Thank you. When we spoke about this one in particular, you still have specifically installation of public announcement system, which leads me to believe you still want to use the traditional PSA. Can we please look at Ed Code and find out if that's required or if we can be more creative? As I mentioned, at my community college, we have Cisco system phones, and they may sound expensive, but they're a lot less expensive than hardwiring a PSA system. And they actually integrate with earthquake safety, fire safety, and all of the different processes for emergency announcements. And so we could install those in each of the classrooms. I would like this to be very specific, not to say public announcement system. I think you need to expand it and make sure that it indicates exactly what Dr. Perlman would like to see. And I'd like to see that installation of an announcement system evaluating a variety that may be better serve our kids and less expensive.
Very good. So just to clarify, the consensus on this item would be to also consider security cameras, and then as we look for public announcement platforms, that we look at various ones. So, you know, there are some out there. We talked about Cisco. so that don't require the hard wiring. So, so yes, we, as you consider the consensus, that's what we would be asking for.
Just one more comment. I don't know if it would go, I would like to see it in the first phase. It was disappointing to me that, yes, we did do Harrison this summer, but it's alarming to me that in the process of putting in the windows, I had brought to the attention that that kindergarten at the front of the school is left wide open. I don't know why the security gate wasn't pushed further out so the kindergarten class is behind the gate. And the door, I was told the windows would be higher, but they're still is it 3 rows of windows? And the door, yes, it is locked on the outside, but in having conversation with the kindergarten teacher there, they do get people coming in and staring in the windows, and the door locks on the outside, yes, but the door on the inside, where it's like type of door I had when I was in the classroom, where you have that Allen wrench thing to open and close it. That plug is, or that hole is plugged, and a kid can literally push out, and has happened, and run out, and the parking lot is right there. I think that is totally a disservice to our kids.
Yeah, it's a huge safety factor. I know I mentioned it as well as a concern. We need to make sure that especially our littles are extremely safe. And yes, same thing. I don't understand why when you were doing Ranch Hills this way, it wasn't thought of and carried through with Harrison. And as I mentioned also as well, if you're installing the digital door system, let's make sure it's a cohesive system that in the main office, they can lock and unlock it remotely as needed. That's part of safety, that's part of accessibility, and it's great oversight because someone always knows when somebody is entering that classroom, and it can actually time who's there, who came, who left.
Is that not the case with the doors at Harrison, that that it can be locked centrally from the office?
Who do we have here that can answer that question? I can get the information for you, but I don't know off the top of my head if you have access in the main office to lock down the campus all at once. But I do hear what Dr. Nash was asking for, that in any future projects, that would be a requirement. Dan, Dan, you're here? Sorry to put you on the spot, sir. Okay, we'll explore that, though.
That concerns me. I think that should have been a first question out the gate. There isn't any reason just to provide convenience factor of an ID entry. The system needs to work cohesively. So that's very disconcerting. And I think we may need to take a field trip to look at some samples of ideals and how they do it. And I know that it's impossible to do it across the entire district at one time. Our campus doesn't have it on every door, but that should have been the first question before installing a system.
Yeah. From a principal's perspective, I know we have many principals in the room here. In terms of staff and student safety, being able to lock down the school with one action and from the main office is important. And I Patty, you were administrator also. I think that should be a consideration. So absolutely. Thank you for that.
Are there any other questions? Ms. Rojas? Oh, am I on? Yeah, Ms. Rojas?
Mrs. Tai,
Yes.
Dr. Nashua,
Yes, with the changes.
Dr. Perlman, Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes, with changes.
Thank you.
Okay, asphalt improvements. So this isn't an actual fun one, but it's stuff that has to be done across the district because especially after the heavy rains, we do have many campuses throughout the district that have asphalt concerns or have cracks in the asphalt. I know that M&O has been doing their best to fill some of the gaps. And so this is this would be the first phase, and you can see the schools listed on the first phase. And the picture that we have up here is actually a picture of Philadelphia Elementary School. And you can see areas that are highlighted in red, and you can see areas that are highlighted in yellow. So as we're looking at the assessments of these sites, the areas in red, we actually need to do some core sampling, and those areas may be likely that we have to replace them, grind them all the way down and replace them. The yellow areas are areas that potentially could be resurfaced. And so as we're looking at these projects, we are looking at our budget, and we're looking at ways that we can extend the life of some of these things. But we do have asphalt across the district that is in dire need of being repaired. And so these would be the schools, again, in the first phase.
Thank you. I have a question. First of all, Alcott is not on this list, but the asphalt at Alcott is very, very uneven, and I believe it presents a safety hazard. Also, could we ask for a report just on the asphalt around the district? Because there is a lot of asphalt that is need of, I mean, I'm surprised that, you know, when we had the report done, that they didn't flag that. But also, at Alcott, the walkway from the main campus to the annex, as we know, the footprint of that school is large. And it's in very, very poor condition. So if we could add Alcott to this list, because it really is in great need of asphalt repair. In addition, there are drainage problems at Alcott, and I don't know if redoing the asphalt will help that, or if it's a drain, some other type of drain issue. But the campus floods quite badly. So if we could look at that, that would be great. And the field is in really bad shape. But you know, maybe that's to look at it another time. But anyway, if we could really look at the add Alcott to this list, because I can't imagine that there are schools in much worse shape than that.
I just want to add that we also include the annex at Alcott.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we talk about Alcott and we forget there's an annex. In terms of the discussion. Thank you.
So just to clarify, if you look at the footprint for Alcott, the main campus is on town, and the upper grade campus is on the back side of it. And there's a long pathway that takes you there, and when they put the pathway in, it is made of asphalt. It is in bad shape, and so, but it leads you to the campus. And I think Alcott at one time was over 1,000 students, and so they had built an annex. But the annex is part of the campus. They're still using it, yes. The upper grades are there.
The only thing I would add to it, though, I mean, in walking campuses, I know earlier in the school year, Dr. Proman and I were at Golden Springs, and so some of the problem, or some of my concerns are, and I'll use Pantera as an example, like around there where cement is and then where asphalt is, maybe adding whatever you put onto asphalt to keep it going for a few more years, will it builds up and the cement is lower? Trust me, I know nothing of construction, so. But you have.
I'm getting ready to ask you, what's that called?
I believe it's called a slurry coat.
A slurry coat?
A slurry coat.
A slurry coat.
But when the the slurry is up and the cement is down, you have kids, you know,
That trip
that
on it.
just can't wait to get out there and
Yeah,
play.
so they
I mean,
trip on
and
it.
I had Mrs. Ubom tell me, you know, I'm tired of my kid coming home with Band-Aids on. But also, it's that problem with the asphalt and the one thing I notice about, Pantera is, you know, they have it almost slopes down, so the water will run to this drain, but the custodians are not paying attention to the whole drain being covered up with leaves and stuff like that, so then you got water that's sitting in this asphalt. So it's a huge cause and effect, so I don't know how you address those issues, but that's just something for the schools that aren't in desperate need of asphalt. They're in desperate need of cement to slurry corners cleaned up so kids aren't tripping, if that makes sense. Is there any other questions? Ms. Rojas?
Mrs. Tai,
Yes, please.
Dr. Nashua.
Can I ask just a point of clarification? So are we adding Alcott to this recommendation because Alcott is not on phase one?
Well, I appreciate what Dr. Perlman is saying. Yeah, I would say yes, add Alcott to it without have gone to look at every, I mean, I'm like on a bathroom tour right now, I'm not on an asphalt tour. So,
I did hear also, is there an interest in the board in getting a total report on the asphalt at each one of the sites throughout the district?
yeah.
That's
I
doable.
think that would be better than driving around and looking at asphalt and bathrooms and toy structures and drainage.
Dr. Nashua? Yes. Dr. Perlman?
Yes, but I would like Alcott added to
I-
that.
Yeah, I thought I made that clear, sorry.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
I'm not clear that Alcott was added. I'm clear that we're making a survey of all schools to confer that this is the right phase one with an emphasis on Alcott and potentially Pantera with the challenges that we have in the transitions, correct?
So could we make sure Alcott is added, and then please supply a follow-up report with the condition of all asphalt throughout the district? Go ahead.
I don't want to be,
But we're still moving forward with
I
this.
don't want to be the pessimist in the group, but after reviewing this, I believe this was going to be $144 million without additions. So I just want to make sure that we remember that these additions, although I do see that, you know, Alcott needing pavement work is very important, asphalt work is very important. There's other things that, so just as the board could remember, just a concern of mine that we don't over budget because we don't have the money to over budget even though we feel we do.
I agree with you, Arturo, but this budget that's presented is already over budget. So, and these are just conceptual estimates. So we're gonna have to come back and things are gonna fall off this list and move to the second payout of the bond. So either way, whether we add it or don't, and we start mincing this up, we're over budget.
We already did it.
Mrs. Gonzalez? I don't think she's,
Yes.
thank
We're
you.
almost done. Okay, I'm going to speed up then. Here we go. All right, next up, we have the electrical and the plumbing water systems. These would be the schools for the first phase in these. And again, these has been identified by the team as the sites that are in most need of this. I think I've talked to you guys before about the plumbing and the water system, that some of these sites, 4 in particular, that we have some issues from the water main to the school site in terms of the water. And so these would be the recommendations for these two.
Go ahead.
As we look at the plumbing and water systems, are we looking at sewer different than plumbing? Or, because we have plumbing coming in and sewers going out. So this question would be for Mr. Ed Cunningham.
Yes.
Could you
When we
explain?
look at plumbing systems, we look at total system. So you've got water, you've got sewer, sorry. I'm used to doing this. So yeah, we are looking at the entire system. So sewer, water, looking at the plumbing in the walls and the buildings, that's redoing the entire plumbing systems for the most part. We obviously don't have enough money to do across the district, all that, but we've chosen the worst ones to use in phase 1 here in your first issuance. And then hopefully by the time we get the next issuance, we'll come up with another list for you.
Because I noticed that, like, the high schools, especially like Gary, it's not that I want to see it here, it's just I have just these concerns about Gary, about conversations I've had with Mr. Cunningham about Gary. So at what point later on, so Gary's going to be probably like the high schools or something that we're looking in the future, or?
As we implement this, once we start working on these, you're going to have the same thing. We'll be doing the same analysis. So any schools that would end up on phase 2 or phase 3, they would be prioritized based on need and using the same criteria that the board established for us on those 4 criteria areas. So if Gary happened to be, if I'm looking at 5 schools and Gary is the most in need, then they would be prioritized on that list.
I just bring up Gary because there's a lot of T-shirts in that sewer system that get pulled out all the time, So
T-shirts.
Oh, T-shirt.
T-shirts. T-shirts.
I thought you said teachers.
Some students. Yeah. So that's why that was one of the issues, right? That was my question. Thank you so much, Mr. Cunningham.
Again, with the list of schools, I want to make sure that we're cross-referencing and making sure we're not investing in schools that we want to close. And then I have a concern here. So Marshall, we were having on the list as potentially, sorry. Oh, wah, 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 wah. Yeah. Sorry. This is what happens on a Friday night.
Angie, you didn't sound like that.
Thank you. I want to make sure, again, that we're not having on this list schools that we're intending to close. And then I have a concern because we were closing Marshall, then we didn't, and then we put SEO there. Are there resources from that school that can also help with costs associated with some of the upgrade? Because now we're going to be retrofitting a school that we hadn't built up with the anticipation of closure. So how much has to be redone at this school now to make it habitable? And was the change worth it?
Dr. Nashua, can you use the word sometimes repurposing? Because Marshall was not going to get closed, it was going to get repurposed, just for the benefit of those listening in, because it's a big deal in terms of the whole thing getting shut down. And
Well, we had discussed it closing and moving them to the high school,
And Sale moving in.
and SAO moving
So
there.
that's
Then they would
repurposing.
be, but then the school itself would have to be in a different site. Like, it wouldn't be top on our list. It would have to be shared expenses. And so now we didn't move those kids. I didn't vote for it because I still don't agree for the SAO kids to be with our middle school kids. To me, it's the same thing as the high school kids.
And-
But
But that's why I wanted to say that, because that's a very important point that you bring up,
Yes,
the budgeting.
yes. The budgeting, the balancing, and realizing what we are now having to take on as a result of that recommendation and those who voted for it.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Dr. Nashua. So as we build out the scope sequence and the budget for these projects, we will consider other sources of funding. So for example, for the Lexington project, we're using a previous bond, but we're also looking at developer fees and other access to money. For some of these projects, we will look at the ELOT program because our ELOT program uses these facilities after school. So SAIL also will be looking at different pots of money to make sure that we can do as much as we possibly can and spread the costs if we possibly can. So within regulatory requirements, of course.
Any other questions?
Mrs. Tai?
I think she's.
Lisa has a
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry.
So sorry. Which cluster is Allison in?
Allison is in one.
And I'm understanding that there's challenges with the plumbing system in Allison. Can you take a look at that and evaluate it and determine if it is in great need and should be added as a cluster 1, 2, whichever you said? Thank you.
Mrs. Tai?
Yes.
Dr. Nashua?
Yes.
Dr. Perlman? Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the growth and expansion of Golden Springs Elementary School. So this project, and when you look at the facilities master plan, it does identify the portables at each site, and many of our portables are getting much older. And so the recommendation here is if you look in the slide here and you see the buildings that are highlighted in red, those are rows of portables, and in the facilities master plan, it does address that these need to be replaced. And so this would be the recommendation for the growth and expansion at Golden Springs Elementary School.
I have some concerns about this project. I think we discussed it as not being previously approved by the board formally, and being on this list is important, and also the work. I'd also like to dissect what has already been submitted for this, which should never have been submitted. Money has already been spent on this project that should not, and architects were paid on this project that should not. And so I think we need to pull this out and dissect it further.
I don't believe we spent any architecture money on this project. Yeah, we can look at it. Yeah, we can look at it.
I was not aware that any architectural money was spent. But we do need to ensure that this Golden Springs project happens quickly, because we need to, the portables, Ms. Tai and I toured that campus, and the portables are in very, very poor condition. We need to make space for more students there. And we also, as I understand it, the portables frequently have restrooms in them, and we are in need of restrooms at that campus. So if we could ensure that Golden Springs moves along, that would be preferable. Thank you.
I think you're talking about Lexington. We can check, though.
So just to be clear, we don't have a school consolidation list, yet we're looking at growth and expansion at Golden Springs. I'm assuming based upon the conversation we had several months ago about consolidating Armstrong and moving the students here, I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse. And I understand that the portables are old and we need better restrooms for students and/or faculty and staff. But this is a huge chunk of our $100 million issuance, and we don't have a school consolidation list. And if the Armstrong families are gonna come at us like they did last time, I just don't know if we're doing this in the right order.
We've been talking about consolidation in terms of, for many, many years. And there's been many studies that have been done, and I've been part of those discussions. And this one aspect of this part of the of this slide, I believe the reason I believe it's here is because it's the one that is right now and the most imperative of all of everything that we're seeing in terms of as moving forward with the consolidation. My Spanish was trying to get out at the same time that word was coming out. So I think that that's why this one campus is here. It's important that I think we should continue to move forward with it because we need to make sure that we only have so many years moving forward in terms of things and the way that things move so slow. I mean, Dr. Nashua has alluded many times to DSA, and that calendar is on, it's very, very, very slow. So I think that given the many discussions that we have had about at least the beginning of the plan, that we know that this is something that we need to move on, and I think that that's why I'm in support of it. And I think that I would like to see. I like to see this move forward. I also want to address a minor aspect of it, but I have this issue about details, and given, like you, we talk a lot. Something that we have in common is we were commissioners for the city in terms of planning and preservation. Something that's very important, some people might not see it, but the consistency of the fencing has to be very important because this school doesn't have a consistent fencing. And I think that that's something that needs to be addressed at this site. And I'm sure you have other places that you that you have the same. But at least here we can begin the process of addressing the fencing. And if there has to be any chain link fencing that goes up, I know that in the city of Pomona, we do not. There's a law that does not allow chain link fencing anymore. That's something. But I know that we as a school district, where we are carved out of that system. But at least we can paint it black. It's a good, not just black, but there's a special black color that can be used so that fencing doesn't look old and rusty in some other areas, and it makes it as you walk up, it's more attractive, or when you see it from the street, it's a much more attractive campus. I was in Tulare, and I've been up and down. I was in many parts just a couple of weeks ago, and I was in McFarland. In McFarland and some other parts where Mr. Knowles grew up, and those campuses looked really preppy because their fences were nice and painted black or green, dark green or dark black. Yeah, it's a nice thing too. So that's something I wanted to bring out right now as we talk about this. Thank you.
I want to agree with Arturo and also Tamara, and I'd like to request that we actually move up the list with the presentation, even if we have to do a special meeting in January, but I've asked for it to be moved back 1 week, so hopefully everything will be ready to go. But we need that consolidation list no later than January. Ideal December, because you already had a list that was recommended over a year ago. So if we could at least look at that list and reevaluate and launch from there, because we're not going to have huge divergent changes. So we need to see that list in December. We need to make decisions in January. Then we can move on this project, and if we move with the entity we thought we would have a new campus by next fall for both sets of students to go to. Correct? Yes. Thank you.
Mrs. Tai,
Yes.
Dr. Nashua,
Yes.
Dr. Perlman, Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, and this was also another area that has shown a lot of interest from the community and the board, and this has to do with our CTE program. And then also, the next part of this in programmatic support would be our transitional kinder program, which has been, I think over the last 3 years, and thanks to Lily and her team and HR, hiring the teachers, that our TK program has just exploded. And so it's been nice to have this for the community. But we do have some school sites that still don't have the facilities for TK. So we would be looking to expand TK at these particular sites. For our career and technical ed, the recommendation would be to modernize the classroom at Fremont for the before the machine shop there. In the past 3 years, we've added, around the district, we've added our construction classes, we've added pharmacy tech, we've added aviation, and again, this manufacturing class at Fremont. Those machines require, a lot of electricity, and so we would want to make sure that we get them functioning. We do have a teacher for that program, and so we actually got to go visit him at the beginning of the year. And so these would be the recommendations for this, so.
For career and technical education, I believe very strongly that there are other sources of funding for this. I know we received money through our Assembly member, Freddie Rodriguez. As I indicated, I think 3 board meetings ago, we need to make sure that a new Assembly member has toured our facilities and is able to look at those sites, because at my previous institution, we garnered millions of dollars to build out CTE facilities, and we didn't have to do it with our bond dollars. So there's a lot of resources, because everybody wants to see people employed, well employed in family sustaining wage jobs, and as long as these are hitting on the right areas, we have that opportunity for resources. We have a very small bond. I know you think it's a lot, but it's small for what we need. And so we need to maximize when we see something like this. I don't agree that it should be on our bond list.
My question, go ahead. My question would be, in regards to Pantera and the portable there, do we have, to me, it seems like we could do 2 portables there for TK. How did we just pull one out of the air and just say that's enough for them, or is there data to support the possible enrollment for 2 classes?
We'd have to look at the projections, Madam President, for enrollment to see if there's enough for 2 classes.
Could we do that, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So piggybacking on that comment about Pantera, I was talking to a parent just this week that has a TK student that she takes to Allison. She's at Westmont and takes a TK student to Allison. So do we have capacity to have enough space at Pantera to have dual language immersion in TK for Mandarin? Because, it would be nice to have, to be able to start them a little bit. We do have Spanish-English dual language immersion for TK, but I don't think we have it for Mandarin, but it would be nice to have that once we drop that portable in there. Anyway, it's just a thought. But anyway, also, happy to see that Fremont is getting that attention. It needs that modernization. It's such a nice campus, but it does need modernization of the manufacturing lab, et cetera. And also, Diamond Ranch has some CTE programs that are in rather inferior portables. Again, it's a portable issue. So portables are another thing that I would really like to see a whole separate report on. Like, where is the need really dire? Because a lot of our portables are old, but some of them, they're really, like, the walls are separating. I mean, it's really problematic. So, and I know some of our CTE programs at DR are housed in those portables. So anyway, something we might look into also. Thank
I
you.
apologize for interjecting, but I think SafeWork has been doing some work with portables, and you have something better that you've identified than just the standard portable?
On that regard, we've been in communication with the team as far as the Timber Quest product as another potential alternate on that field trip. Besides the typical modulars, there are the typical companies that provide those portable buildings for that comparison. So that would be the hybrid between a permanent building and a portable product.
And the direction that I've given the team is that when we consider, if we are removing portables in the district, that we look at a more permanent solution. It may not be a new build, but there are better products out there. And so we need to purchase things that last longer than 15, 20 years, and then they start falling apart. We have to consider that this is the community's money, and we want to make sure it goes as far as possible. So thank you for saying that.
I just wanted to also support the comments of Dr. Nashua. Even for CTE, there's a lot of money in the big beautiful bill, and we should be maybe working with our Congresswoman. She is on the Appropriations Committee for the federal government. The money is already there, and maybe we also do have a lot of great connections via your office through Mr. Ronnie Gonzalez Lawrence in terms of looking at some more money for CTE from that aspect of things. And it shows that, and I'd just like to correct Dr. Nashua on one thing. It was $14 million, Dr. Nashua, and no, it was a lot of money. Yes. The Freddie Rodriguez, because you said it wasn't enough. Oh, but I thought like 40. That was different than Freddie Rodriguez because, yeah. So okay, I was just thinking like, so that was that. But that money was important because in terms of this, there was the very first time that ever a school board member asked an assembly member to do a carve out, and Mr. Ronnie Lawrence Gonzalez, who was working at the time for the assembly member, was kind enough to identify the $14 million, and our students are benefiting from it. So it was pretty good.
And thank you, because that actually supports what I said, which is there's other money besides bond money.
That was my intent.
Yes. So I not mentioned it in terms of it not being enough. It's never enough. We always need more money. But most importantly...
That's the name of a song.
Yeah, it is. In terms of the TK, I see San Jose Elementary School on there. I have concern once again with the littles and making sure they're secure, because I understand that there are some access issues for that campus, and I want to make sure that we address the safety to make sure that wherever we place them and overall, that campus has a secure access point.
I don't know if this is the spot to talk about it, though, so, when we talk about, possible portable replacement, or with I'm not saying it has to be TimberQuest, but like a TimberQuest type building, and how many portables do we have that are stored right now that, are housed, that, either need to go to the portable graveyard somewhere? And I personally know that I don't know if it's called a wood shop class that's at Diamond Ranch. That was my first classroom that had to be made into a classroom that now is being torn down into something else. But do we sell these portables? How do we handle the offloading of portables without costing an arm and a leg?
So right now, the portables are in storage from, I think, the San Antonio property, adult ed, and then the adult transition campus. And so there are a number of units over there, and after evaluating them, our recommendation would be that we get rid of all of them. And this is not something that they are not in a state that you could sell them and make money. It's more of we're gonna have to pay somebody to demolish them to the tune of about $250,000. And so that would be the recommendation of staff, is that we get rid of those portables and not try to reuse them, because they are in bad shape. And so that would be, again, that would be the recommendation from the staff, so.
No, I'm not done. Duh. I don't want to pay money to get rid of them. I mean, can't we, is there other options to look into to have a salvage yard or something like that we could, I mean, is there, like at the Mission property, is there anything that you can leave out that can come get stripped in the middle of the night and get rid of?
No, we're so desperate, we don't want them.
I don't want to spend money on getting rid of.
I'm gonna plead the fifth, Mr. Moore, on that one. I'm not answering that question.
No, I'm not,
I'm teasing
I'm
you,
not
Madam
saying we have
President.
to sign like strip night. I mean, just, what?
We
Is there something we can do to
can look at
salvage
other options. I believe at this time that, and again, we will look at other options, but I think at this time, paying somebody to demolish them for us and get them off our hands is probably the best thing we can do.
Jim's giving me the evil eye.
So, about a year ago, we had staff recommend immediate removal of some and store them because there was a belief that they could be reused. We have paid for said storage. I'd like us to explore some sort of administrative policy specific to one person can't make an evaluation. We need to look at it. Either we're keeping it or we're dumping it immediately. No more attempting to store things that simply degrade over time. This has cost us already too much money, and we need to stop this process. Not again.
Ms. Rojas?
Mrs. Tai,
Yes.
Dr. Nashua,
No.
Dr. Perlman? Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Well, I wasn't really clear if we are keeping CTE in here or removing it and looking for alternate funds.
If I could, my suggestion was that we keep it in here, but we look for we do both. Because we're still going through the process of, we're gonna bring him back and, how are we gonna fund it? But if we see we can do both.
Dr. Perlman?
Maybe we might keep it in here and add that we would look for alternative funds. And if we can find them, we can take it off the list, which would be preferable. but that we move forward with it.
Can I respectfully propose that if, I would request that it stay on the list as a project, and we look for alternative sources of funds so that if we do identify them, the project could still move forward and it's not shelved. Okay.
This is what was said.
The process
I-
is going to
I
take at least 2
apologize.
years to get another source of funding. So I would recommend, if you want to keep it on the list, that it's one of the first ones to come off when we have to start dropping things, because we are going to have to.
Well, there's no doubt. Many of these projects will, even though they're phase one projects, will extend into the second issuance.
So my response is no.
All right, as a point of order on that consensus, we had a 3-2. And so my understanding is that the directive to Mr. Knowles is to move forward as it's listed, however, with the caveats of seeking additional funds, and if adequate additional funds are found, that it come off of the bond expenditure list.
Okay, thank you. And this is the last area. This is the campus functionality improvement area. These enhancements would work to do enhancements to the schools that are needed, such as, improving drop-off areas, which is a big issue for many of our sites. Would also, address any wayfinding so that people can, know which schools they're at. And then also, making sure that, the schools are up to standard. And so this is a big area. We put a couple pictures here. These are some of our newest facilities. This is Roosevelt and Washington. But we really want to make sure that our facilities are up to standard and that, that they are a crown jewel in the communities, in our neighborhoods. And so this would be another area that we would be looking at for a recommendation to the board for projects.
Thank you. I have a few questions here. Certain schools I see omitted here, but I think, and maybe, I'm not sure that I don't believe any of these schools, but Lorbeer, Alcott, Diamond Ranch, Pantera, Philadelphia, and Simons are all in dire need of paint. I believe at Simons, even one of the walls on a hallway was painted and the other one wasn't. So, I don't know what happened with that. But also, I have a couple of other questions. Gary, I don't know if they got LED lighting on their baseball field, but they are the only comprehensive high school that doesn't have LED lighting. Because their baseball field was done before we did, the artificial turf fields. So if we could look at the LED lighting for the baseball fields and softball fields at Gary. Also, Lexington, understanding that Lexington is getting a new building that is not included in this bond because we're paying it from a previous bond. But they're really in need of repair of the old campus. There's nothing here, actually, Lexington isn't mentioned here at all, with the exception of the fire, fire alarms. So unlike Roosevelt and Washington, their old campuses were also renovated, but that did not happen at Lexington. So, they're in need of, again, asphalt. Classroom doors are in need of replacement and painting. And I mean, the school is old, but putting a new building in is not going to repair that. And Lexington didn't appear, I don't think, in any of these categories. So we do need to look at that unless, we're planning to renovate the old campus at some point, but I haven't received any information about that. So anyway, that's just another thing I want to, remind the group about the fact that the old campus was not included in any of this.
talk about functionality and improvements, there's a nexus there that maybe we're missing a little bit, and I don't know if it's gonna be now, but it would be best to see, because we're looking at assignments, where that field is, that field could maybe working, I don't know, going back to maybe doing something with the city, because I know that we found, we do have MOUs now, which we never could have had MOUs. All of a sudden, we have MOUs. But if it's possible that this field could be turned into like maybe a soccer field for the kids, and then we light it up so folks can walk around the field. I just have a big concern for us in Pomona, because one of the things that I know for a fact of the city, that the state of California has designated us a park poor community as a city. We also have another problem in the city, that the health of the community as a whole. We've also been designated as a high diabetes, community. So there's a lot of, so it's important that we as a school district start thinking about how the schools can also help the health of the city, the community that they're surrounding. So for that reason, I was thinking maybe we could start looking at how we can start putting up lights in some of the schools, and we can have tracks that are walkable, and maybe even have soccer at these fields, because we don't have enough soccer. And I know we talked about this, Mr. Knowles, many times, and you're very supportive of all of this. But I think that somewhere in the mix, as we do some of this work, because it would be like something like that at Simons would be like a game changer in terms of the community, how the community relates to the school, and now how the school will become a much more integrated part of the infrastructure of the community.
Yeah, I do know that just from my experience in Pomona and Simons, Emerson, and Marshall, and even Fremont, the community uses those fields and those walking tracks a lot. And so we also have outside groups that also, through the Civics Interact, also access the facilities for after-school sports programs. And so our fields on those sites are very rough. We continually combat, I see Sylvia shaking her head right there. We're continually combating gophers. But yeah, our community does use the tracks at those sites frequently. I see that even driving home, sometimes they'll be walking the track, so.
I know, like with, I would also like to see Laura Bear added on this, because their pickup and drop off is atrocious, and it's at a very congested, it's at a major intersection of Golden Springs and Diamond Bar Boulevard. I do know that the city of Pomona does have some type of understanding that they were responsible for the lights at Laura Bear for that lower field to be used for the soccer programs and stuff like that. But one thing so I'm hoping there's an MOU somewhere with the city of Diamond Bar and with the district, that maybe in the district's MOUs, if we go to having fields, I can't remember what school I was with you, where there's like this huge field that just.
It's Fremont.
That's Fremont?
Yeah.
It's like, holy guacamole. But that Pomona has some skin in the game for the maintenance of the field and the maintenance of the asphalt and stuff like that. I mean, all those extra cars coming on, and all those people, and all the trash, and all those should be addressed if you're going to use our equipment. So that would be my ask, and definitely I think Laura Bear should be added on to this functionality. Any more questions? Ms. Rojas?
Mrs. Ty,
Yes.
Dr. Nashua,
Yes.
Dr. Pearlman, Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So again, I'm gonna speed up in the interest of time, but I do just want to say that when you look at this slide, when you look in the top left-hand corner and you see the conceptual studies, again, the staff, this is where we're going to be building out that scope, the project sequence and the budget to make sure that we, that we look at all of that, and then again, that will be coming back to the board. But we will be engaging the experts in terms of building the details out on this. And so now once we do this, we bring it back to the board, and the board approves the project as, as proposed, or if there's any changes. Again, this is also a time where stakeholders or those people that need to be in the room need to participate here, and that includes board members, it includes principals, it includes community, includes our students and so forth, where anybody that is necessary to a project, they should be part of this. This is where you got to give the feedback, because what we want to avoid is once we get into design and once something is submitted to DSA, that we make sure that we manage our changes. We don't want a lot of changes because, again, managing expectations also has to do with how much money we have to spend. And so this is an example of just the process. And you can see some of these projects will take a shorter amount of time. Some of them will obviously be longer. This is an example of a project schedule that will be listed out that you'll see as as some of these projects will be overlapping. But again, this will show the various projects once we populate this and we get moving, it will show the actual project schedule so that we can effectively manage the bond. And then also, this is a great example of the project schedules in terms of a preliminary study where you'll get the details on this and it'll start phasing out. And not only are we thinking about the first issuance, the second issuance, we're going to be thinking about further down the line as we implement these programs and making sure that these, the conceptual estimates and everything that goes into these is considered as part of the planning on this. I'm going to just do a quick financial review. And again, this is not, Dr. Nashua did bring up a good point where we will look at other sources of funding for projects. But in terms of Measure P and PS, this is what's left in the current fund balance. We also have some ed tech monies, that those monies are for student computers. And then you can also see that the first issuance or Measure UU Series A is there, and you can see the schedule for the remaining issuances all the way from Series A to Series F. And then, again, and I think I've said this enough, so I don't need, if I need to say it again, just raise your hand. But again, thank you guys for giving us the direction on the project list. This will allow us to start working to build this out. I appreciate the direction that you guys have given us. And if there are no further questions, I want to thank you guys for joining us on a Friday afternoon, evening.
Oh, go ahead.
When, speaking of the conceptual studies and the actual the schematic design, I just wanted to make sure that I spoke to the issue of in California, there's many public schools, that are using, increasingly, they're using and they're utilizing architectural firms using AI-powered renderings and schematic design tools, allowing for faster, more code-compliant and visually compelling school environments. I'm sorry, I'm using my little AI thing here. But the thing is that,
You're using AI to tell me about AI. Love it.
about these things. So they tend to be less expensive. I know that Dr. Proman and other board members have spoke about how expensive it is. I think that Dr. Nashua spoke about how expensive it is, the architectural work. Yes. So maybe we can look into some of these things so that, Mr. Cunningham, if you can bring back a the Empire, the Star Wars had like a really good hologram machine, you know, that you could just go plop, and then a school would come up, and you could 3D it, you know? But if you can't do that,
Whatever you guys want.
something similar would be good, right?
Let-
Give me whatever you want.
So we could do something like that, so that we could start looking at less expensive, and I know that, we as a board, because we don't have that capacity maybe to really view things in a different way, we really need those renderings so we can make those decisions faster.
All right, thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that.
Mrs. Vice President. Okay, I totally agree with you, Arturo, about AI, but as somebody who teaches AI and teaches interior design, we want to make sure that we're actually working with people who understand how to generate AI images correctly, and that that's something that is a specialty with your firm or whomever we use, because they can easily not provide a correct image. And for those on the board who are not me, who can see things a little bit more three-dimensionally, if it's not just right, you might get hung up on something that will put a pause on it. But I think an AI rendered image is a much swifter way to go, but we just have to be very careful that we know what we're doing.
So I just wanted to reiterate here for a moment that I would like to see a report about the condition of the portables. We need a separate evaluation for that, just to make sure that, hopefully with this issuance, we can do some of that, but even in future bond issuances, just because the portables can be a safety concern, for sure. So just to bring up Decker, they have some really portables that are in really terrible condition that, again, the walls are actually separating. I know that it's pretty old because my daughter, who is almost 40, was in one of those classrooms, okay? And it wasn't new then, okay? So so they need to really be evaluated. And also, as I mentioned, Diamond Ranch has some really old portables that need to be replaced. And that's it. So I would like to see that separate evaluation. I think it's important.
So that'll be easy, pretty easy for us to do. It is a part of the facilities master plan, and I don't expect you guys to go through this big document. We can have staff do it. But on every section at every site, they did evaluate the portables. And they also, if you look at each slide, if there's portables, it does identify them. It also, it gives a little kind of a red dotted line on structures to be removed. If you look closely at the picture also, it lets you know when the portables were put there. So for example, right now I'm looking at Vehar. They have portables that were put there back in 1990 and 1996. And I think we had talked a little bit about, if we talked about Golden Springs, some of those portables were put there back in 1999. So they've far
You
exceeded
can go to
their
Decker and
lifetime.
know exactly when that portable was
Yeah,
put in.
absolutely. So, but we'll have somebody do an executive summary for the
Okay,
board.
perfect.
Now, we would also have to go in and actually look at them also because, you might have a portable that was put up in the same year, but this one is in worse shape than this one, so,
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
I would just like to say, Golden Springs has older ones than that, because my daughter went to school in those portables.
I didn't look at the
And
two.
she's
I
fo-
know,
and
I know
she's
which two you're
45.
talking about.
So, I trump Roberta. No, they weren't.
It says 1999.
Yeah, no, because she was born in 81.
I don't want to be a downer again, but Philadelphia has portables. It still contains the bullet hole of the boy who was killed in front of Philadelphia Elementary School, right within in front of that portable, which started the whole youth and master plan in Pomona. So, I mean, when we went, when we met the congresswoman there one time, through the early childhood
Right,
education
right.
program, and the bullet hole was still there. So we have, I mean, we're gonna be going about stories about which ones are older. I mean, we got schools that are really old.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure that we cover several things that we're supposed to be getting back. We're going to receive the modifications. I don't know what your timeline is on, but it would be great if we got the modifications before our December convening. Then we're going to see the list of the consolidation schools as it was a year ago, and then we can start discussing. We want to see that in December. Then we also need to have that meeting with our M&O team regarding maintenance of facilities with the timeline. Do they have enough staff? Who's in charge of things like the playgrounds? I really like to see a meeting with that team and their supervisors to have an understanding of where we're at and where we should be going, and we want to work hand in hand with them. And then the other thing I think that we want to see is Darren and you discussed it regarding the issuance fees. I'd like to see that as soon as possible, maybe within the next 2 weeks. Thank you.
I would like to support Dr. Nashua on that issue about maybe having like an M&O. It'd be great to have an M&O study session like this to see about, how do the schools get clean and how do we do what we do. And there's a lot of questions in terms of what happens with all of the fields that we just installed not too long ago, and how are they being kept up, and all of these things. Yeah, so it'd be good to have like maybe not, I don't know when, but it would be good to have a study session around M&O and all of those things happen. And if we do have the organizational structure correct and all of that stuff, it'd be great.
I agree, because I'm not sure they always have the equipment or the staffing to be able to do everything that we kind of just throw at them. And when we have our new facilities, we want to keep them in their best possible, condition. We need to make sure that our team has got the capacity to do that work.
Let me clarify on the modification, the first one you started with. Clarify a little bit more on that one, that particular item.
The modification of all the different slides with the priorities, with all the different additions and the edits.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
And if we could have it by the December meeting. And since we talked about having a meeting with the maintenance department, for a good long time, well, Ganesha probably only had their sports director taking care of the football field there, while the rest of the football fields, other than throwing the little rubber balls on them periodically, I don't think they were ever maintained properly. So I would like a report on how we are maintaining our baseball fields now. The only one I've seen all of them, but the only one I've seen lately is Diamond Ranch because of going to football games. But, Roberta, I can't remember the name of the machine, something we were gonna get to take care of baseball fields, and we were gonna get someone to drive that little machine everywhere.
I think Jeff knows.
The groomer, but, I mean, I'm almost scared to like say, okay, somebody take me to the baseball fields, because we've had them a year now. And I would venture to say nothing has been done to maintain them. So if anybody wants to go on a baseball field trip with me.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah. Why we get this new stuff and then,
Don't equip our people to take care of it.
well, it's not even that, but the people that are supposed to take care of it don't. So, so I think you have clear direction on what you need. Is there any more questions from my colleagues before I move to section 3? Okay, moving on to section 3, open oral communication. 3.01, audience comments. Mr. Moore, is there any yellow slips?
I believe we have one.
And she's not here. Pon, I don't, no. Moving on to 3.02, board and superintendent oral communication and concluding comments. Mr. Knowles?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to thank the board for letting us have an opportunity to present to you guys. And I don't always do this, but we have Nee, Teresa, and Alberto, our custodians here at the district office, who put this room together for us. They take it down, and I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Gino and their team. I know last time we struggled with mics, and they gave us a temporary solution, and they're working on a more permanent solution. So, Gino, you guys, thank you to your team. I want to thank our guests for coming. Sarah, thank you for joining us tonight as well. And I think, we got some clear direction tonight. I'm excited about the work to be done. And again, thank you guys.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Thank you for everyone coming this evening. Thank you, Darren and team, for putting this presentation together. And thank you to my fellow board members for your thoughtful questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Jimenez?
I too want to thank everyone. I learned a lot. I can't. If I lean too much, I'm going to be told I'm hunching over. So that you can't win. So I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Ms. Garrett for coming out. I still say that you have an awesome last name. I know it very reminds me of when I took my kids out to Arizona and those days, and we went to go see the old western towns down there. It was really beautiful to see those things. So I want to thank everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Knowles, for preparing all of this. I know it took a lot of work from staff and everyone here. Next time, I'd like to see a little bit more. I know that we have Mr. Alex Quito from SafeWorks, but I'd like to see more representation from SafeWorks. I don't think it's fair for him. Maybe we could have somebody higher up that could answer some of the questions that were brought up. I think those sort of things are important. I've yet to meet a higher person, so it'd be great. So in terms of, thank you, Mr. Quito, for doing, but yeah, go ahead.
We have a quick comment on that. It's unfortunate circumstances with the air traffic controllers and the flight delays that my senior could not be here. His flight was, he had a conference in Sacramento that got delayed, and he did not land in time to make this particular meeting. It was not scheduled, but we do apologize for that inconvenience.
Yeah. My comments were not meant to be any way slighted or any. So I hope you don't take it as a slight. I just like to. It would have been great to have a little bit their participation. And I want to thank everyone for participating today. It makes me more hopeful about the future as we move forward and we look at the schools and that we're making movement on these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Tai. Thank you, Mr. Knowles, and everyone responsible. Thank you always, Ms. Rojas. And also, Haley, thank you for being here. You were taking pictures this morning. You're still here now, right? So thank you. But, and of course, Mr. Moore and all the people from, representing the various project management companies. I want to really take a moment just to thank the community, because without this bond, this is all the money we have to fix our schools. I mean, we don't get money from other places. This is it. So thank you to our community for being so thoughtful. Well, I can thank all of us too. We live in the city also. We live in the school district also. Right, that's right. But thank you to our community, because this is what allows us to do this work, and our kids are, nothing more important than that. So anyway, thank you so much.
I also appreciate everybody's attendance and all of the work that has gone into this. I know I have a lot of questions. I actually reviewed the facilities master plan before coming to the meeting to make sure that I had all the information, and there's so much in there. But there's so much more opportunity as well, so I'm excited about that. Thank you so much for indulging me in my many questions and ideas, and I really believe that we have a creative entity that can think outside the box and not just set with the status quo. Looking forward to getting all of this additional information, and we may have to schedule another meeting just so we can get moving on this and keep the momentum going. We can't let it stop. Thank you.
So I would like to encourage my colleagues that when we come next Wednesday for our regular board meeting, that you do come with some dates that we can schedule yet some more special sessions or special board meetings or whatever you want to call them. So we're prepared to keep moving the ball down the court. So, I mean, yes, I don't have that many more meetings, but I'm going to boss you around one more time and ask you to please bring some dates with you. I think it was a very good meeting. I have reviewed a lot of things, and I met with Mr. Knowles a few times about this stuff, and you know, I think the last 2 nights my head has been swimming with facilities and stuff like that. But I'm really like that thing. I mean, I don't know how you can make it more user-friendly, but like, I need a bigger ruler so I can go line by line with it, but that does me no good. I can't look at it online. I have to touch it. So, but I really appreciate everybody being here. And I really appreciate our partnership with LCC3. I know that there are difference of opinions, but I value your partnership and I value the work that you do. I don't think it's something that we can just look at you and say, we're in this mess because of you. I do believe there has been a lot of issues with our district that fall into the category also. So I just do want to acknowledge Jeff and Daniel and Brenda. I'm going to say it. Nope, Maureen. I even practiced when I was sitting here. Maureen. I'm so bad with names. But so thank you for attending. Sarah, I don't think I've ever met you, but I look forward to seeing more of you. And thank you for attending also. Mariana and Mary, thank you for attending. I'm sorry you missed the your part, but I hope you have a nice evening. And with that, our next board meeting will be November 12th at 2025 at 6 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned.